Fair Park in Milwaukee for the first race after Indianapolis since 1947. And there seems to be a pattern of repeat winners. In 1982, Gordon Johncock beat Rick Mears to the checkered flag at Indianapolis by 0.16 of a second. He came to Milwaukee and chalked up another victory.
But Johncock has not only been the fastest car here today, it's just been an incredible performance. He's been devastating.
Tom Sneva won Indianapolis in 1983, then came to Milwaukee to duel with and beat Al Unser.
But Sneva unable to do so now in turn 3. Here it is, Tom Sneva passing Al Unser in turn 3, and Sneva goes into the lead with 7 laps to go. Tom Sneva takes over the lead once again.
Last year, the pattern was broken. Rick Mears won Indianapolis, and although he was leading late in the race here in Milwaukee, things went bad for him on the very last lap.
There is Rick now at the end of the backstretch. He made up 2 seconds.
And Rick is broken.
And
He
Rick
is broken.
is slowing dramatically in turn number 3.
Could be side by side.
I still don't think Tom is going to win it. And Rick, yes, Rick is slowing. Rick is slowing. He's coming into the pits, and Tom Sneva is going to win the race on the last lap. There's a checkered Sneva win.
Danny Sullivan hopes to begin a new string of repeat winners. Driving for car owner Roger Penske, Sullivan, in only his 3rd Indy 500, won the race by about 2 seconds. The victory came despite a spin in turn number 1 as he tried to take over the lead from Mario Andretti. Danny Sullivan is here, will start in the front row, and has to be considered the favorite in today's American 200 from State Fair Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. ESPN, your #1 auto racing network, presents Auto Racing 85. The cars are lined up, and we're about ready to go for the American 200 from State Fair Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Larry Newber. You check over the starting grid and see 10, maybe 12 drivers capable of winning this race. Tom Sneva has won 3 out of the last 4, but not a too good a starting position for today's race, Larry.
No, it's really different, Bob. You know, Sneva has been very good here in recent years, but he's driving the in-house Eagle this weekend, and it just hasn't been working. He's starting back almost about 20th position. Ed Pym, his teammate, has a Lola, and he is starting in 6th position. So Sneva looks like he's got a long ways to go. Pym could be one of the top contenders, but the favorites, Andretti, Sullivan, and maybe Rick Mears.
Up front on the front row will be Mario Andretti and Danny Sullivan. 9 drivers broke the track record here this weekend in qualifying, so it's going to be a very quick race. Let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit area with more activity down there. Jack?
This could indeed be the rubber match for the Kart PPG Series. 3 races will have been run when they dropped the checkered flag here. The first one was won by Mario Andretti, your pole sitter. He's won here in 1966 and 67. But the guy that won at Indianapolis, he's on the outside. That's Danny Sullivan. The question, though, is who will win this one? Mario Andretti or Danny Sullivan? Andretti hasn't won a short track oval race since 1968 at Trenton, New Jersey. Let's go back up to Bob Jenkins.
Thank you, Jack. Today's American 200 is being brought to you by Chevrolet, who invites you to see today's Chevy, drive today's Chevy, live today's Chevy. And by the STP Corporation. On the world's racetracks and on the world's roads, depend on STP, your car care company. And by Goodyear, makers of the high-performance radial, the Eagle. We'll be right back with more from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Of the Miller American 200, and for those fans in national television and radio, gentlemen, start your engines.
24 cars roar to life, and the drivers now begin to watch their instruments to see that the car is functioning properly. In just a moment, the cars will be pushed off, and we'll begin this 200-mile, 200-lap race here at State Fair Park in Milwaukee. Lyondike in the Provimi Dutch Treats, number 61, gets ready to go. Outside of him will be Spike Gelhausen. There is Bobby Rahal, who had such a tremendous season in the last half of the season last year. Check the starting lineup, the 24 cars that will be going in today's American 200. On the pole from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, driving car number 1, the Newman Haas Beatrice Lola, qualifying at 1:47.608, a new track record, Mario Andretti. Outside of row number 1 in the Miller American, qualifying at 1:46.4 from Louisville, Kentucky, car number 4, Danny Sullivan. In row number 2 from Bakersfield, California, car number 5, the Pennzoil Z7 Special, Rick Mears. Outside of row number 2 from Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the Domino's Pizza Hot One Lola, car number 30, Al Unser Jr. In the third row, Roberto Guerrero in the True Value Master Mechanic Emerson Electric March, and outside of row number 3, car number 98, Ed Pym from Dublin, Ohio. In the fourth row, car number 21, Johnny Rutherford from Fort Worth, Texas, in the Vermont American. Outside of row number 4 will be car number 40 from Sao Paulo, Brazil, Emerson Fittipaldi. In row number 5, car number 38 from Ozona, Texas, Chet Phillip. On the outside of row number 5, car number 99 from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Michael Andretti. In the sixth row, car number 3, Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, the Budweiser True Sports March. Outside of row number 6, Jeff Brabham from San Clemente, California, in the Coors Light Silver Bullet car number 7. In the seventh row will be Jacques Villeneuve and Jose Legarza. The eighth row, Ari Lyondike and Spike Gelhausen. In row number 9, Dick Simon, car 22, and Pancho Carter in 6th. The 10th row, Tom Sneva and Pete Halsmer. In row number 11, Howdy Holmes and Kevin Cogan. The 12th row, Tom Bigelow and Dennis Firestone. The 2 in the 12th row were added to the field by promoter's option.
To come to Milwaukee. You know, a lot of people go to Indianapolis. You only see it one time of the year. A lot of journalists, some race drivers, but when you come here to Milwaukee, you know all the racers are here. Johnny Rutherford has qualified in the number 7 position, the inside of row number 4. Johnny Rutherford, this is Larry Newbrough on ESPN. Do you read us, Johnny? Johnny Rutherford, this is Larry Newbrough on ESPN. Do you have a reading on us, John? Well, there's a lot of noise and a lot of confusion right now on the racetrack, but we do have a radio in Johnny Rutherford's car, and we'll be trying to tune in with him just a little later this afternoon. But as we mentioned, Johnny starts in row number 4, and if there's any question about whether or not Johnny Rutherford is back, believe me, it's been answered in the last 2 weeks. He's one of the favorites for running up front in today's race.
And he's a 4-time winner here at Milwaukee. He drives car number 21. There he is, positioned on the inside of row number 4, the 7 starting position. The parade cars have all pulled off of the racetrack. The pace car is picking up speed as it gets ready to exit the race course. And we should be going green for the American 200 here at Milwaukee this time around. The pole sitter is Mario Andretti. Outside is Danny Sullivan. The second row is Rick Mears and Al Unser Jr. Here they come down the straightaway. The green flag flies. Two abreast through turns number 1 and 2, and Mario Andretti has grabbed the lead, with Danny Sullivan running in second position. A lot of slow traffic back in the back as some of the drivers were braking very hard, but we did not have a spin out there. Everybody is still going, and the first lap is completed with Rick Mears running third, then Al Unser Jr., and running in 5th position is Ed Pym.
Bob, lots of heavy traffic from about 8th or 9th position on back. I think it might have been Bobby Rahal who got just a little bit out of sync on the start, because he is leading, which something that makes it like the second contingent of cars right now, and just in front of him is Chet Phillip. The first 6 or 7 cars are in front.
One of the drivers we'll be watching here in the early stages is Tom Sneva move up from his starting position. But Ed Pim is also running very strong in the team car to Tom Sneva. Ed qualified at 145.290, one of the drivers who broke the track record in qualifying yesterday.
Al Unser Jr. is running right now approximately in 6th or 7th position, and we have noted visually that it looks like he may be slowing just a little bit, but that is Ed Pim right now, who continues to run very strong. He's had a great weekend. He has been among the fastest practicers all week long. During one of the practice sessions, he was the single fastest qualifier, and he surprised a lot of the veterans by qualifying in the 6th position. Now remember, this is a Lola. This is not the in-house Eagle, and Pim is giving it a real solid and a real strong ride this weekend.
Mario Andretti continues to be our leader here, stretching out the advantage just a little bit over Danny Sullivan, who's still running in 2nd spot. There is the leader, Mario Andretti, as he goes down the backstretch. And in 3rd position is Rick Mears. 4th is Ed Pim.
Well, Mario is the early leader of this race. He has not won here for a long, long time, but obviously he was the guy to beat in 1984. One of his sons, Jeff Andretti, won a Super V race earlier today here in the Milwaukee Mile. Now there's Al Jr., whom we mentioned a little earlier. He started out running strongly in the top 4 or 5. You can see lots of smoke trailing behind the Domino's Pizza Hut one.
Tough luck for Al Unser Jr., who qualified 4th fastest here this weekend, but has dropped back considerably in the early going of this race. And it would appear that perhaps Al Unser Jr. is going to be making a pit stop here very shortly. He's down to the inside of the racetrack in turn number 4, and smoke is evident from the rear end of that machine. And here he comes, Al Unser Jr. in for the stop. His pit is at the very last one toward turn number 1. The crew is looking the car over, but you can see how much smoke is coming from it. And Jack Arute is down there in the Al Unser Jr. pit.
And it looks like they're spraying for mosquitoes, the amount of smoke that's coming up out of the Domino's Pizza Hut one of Al Unser Jr. They've killed the engine. They're bringing some water over to try and extinguish the smoke fire that's coming from beneath the rear bonnet. Now, in fact, they're going to pull the bonnet off. The visor is up on Al Jr.'s helmet, and you can look in his face, and the ejection is there. A tough break for this youngster in the Doug Shearson car, but it looks as if it may be tout fini today. Gentlemen?
All right, Jack, thank you very much.
Bob, by starting the race today, Al Unser Jr., as a very young man, has gone over the $1 million mark in earnings in his IndyCar career. That's quite a mark for the limited number of years and number of races that this young pilot has raced in.
Mario Andretti lapping Spike Gelhausen down the main straightaway. Gelhausen driving the car that was driven at Indianapolis by Michael Rowe. Gelhausen taking over the wheel this weekend. And we have a car up into the fence. It looks like it's Ari Lyondike, car 61, as he brushed the wall out there in turn number 3, I believe.
Yellow flag comes out for Ari because he's limping down the back straightaway.
I think he touched the wall coming out of turn number 2, did not really hit it, but rather brushed it, and is going to be able to continue around to the pit area. Ari Lyondike also crashed during a practice period on Thursday. There is Lyondike moving into the pit area, and there you can see that he was sideways coming off of turn number 2, and in an effort to get the car straightened out, and oh, look at the close call there. Looks like that Dick Simon just narrowly escaped missing Lyondike or the wall. There's Lyondike in the pits, and it could be just a simple matter of chasing the front wing, putting on new tires, and sending him back out there. We'll be back in just a moment with more from Milwaukee. Including the Horton Medical Unit is still on the racetrack. The pace car is still out there leading the field around slowly. We went yellow on lap number 10 because of a spin out in turn number 2 involving Ari Lyondike, but it was not a serious enough spin to knock him out of the race. However, the car of Al Unser Jr. continues to sit in his pit, and they continue to work on that machine. The leader is Mario Andretti. Running in 2nd position is Danny Sullivan. And in third position is Rick Mears. Fourth is Ed Pym. And in fifth spot is Roberto Guerrero.
And Bob, the guy that has made a move, it's Tom Sneva. Remember, he started at 19th position and he runs in 9th right now. So Sneva has made some progress.
Yeah, he did get off to a very good start. Has now moved up well and is setting his sights on some even higher positions here. And the green flag comes out once again. We are back to racing in the American 200. Mario Andretti off of corner number 2, leading Danny Sullivan down the backstretch. The interval is about 8 or 10 car lengths. You can see it right there. Sullivan, the winner of the Indianapolis 500, and Mario, the driver that he battled with most of the time during the 500-mile race in Indianapolis. Mario unfortunately ended up about 2 seconds short of the victory, while Danny Sullivan recovered from the spin and went on to win that race.
Sneva is coming on, Bob. I'll tell you, he picked up, I think, a couple of more positions on the restart. Watch for a blue and white number 2 moving up to the front. There's Sneva in heavy traffic. That's Dennis Firestone on the high side. He's being lapped right now. Ray Hall, I believe, is right there with Tom right behind him in that red car. And there's Chet Phillip. Remember, he had a great qualifying run this weekend. Yep, that's Tom Sneva. Roberto Guerrero is right in front. And Sneva has made a rapid charge upward.
He is now shown in 6th position. Remember, he has won the last 3 out of 4 races here at Milwaukee and likes this racetrack. Last year, beating Rick Mears on the 4th corner as Mears' car just died on him in the 4th corner, and Tom Sneva went on to win that race. Roberto Guerrero riding right in front of Tom Sneva. Let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit area.
The stop by Arie Luyendyk was a costly one. And here's the problem. Not only did he spin and have to come in and change tires, but he severed the front wing. You can see this connector is no longer attached to the wing. So they had to completely replace the wing here on the front of the car before he could go back out on the racetrack. He lost precious time and a lot of laps.
Carrying the ESPN logo there on the wing, too. That's nice of Arie Luyendyk.
The Bovimiville people are pretty good people, Bob. You know, they are host to us when we're up at Elkhart Lake, and also they're like the co-host whenever we're here at the Milwaukee Mile. They had a real nice dinner for everybody Friday night, and they're one of the more hospitable people in all of racing.
Mario Andretti has a 2.3-second lead on Danny Sullivan. And in third position is Rick Mears, and Mears was another one of those drivers who ran strong at the Indianapolis 500 just 1 week ago today, but unfortunately dropped out of the race late. And you can see the interval between second and third. There's Roberto Guerrero, car number 9. He's running in 7th position at the moment.
There is Guerrero running 6th, and in 7th right now. Like it may be Sneva. Let's see if we get the camera rolled in and close. Yes, it is. It's Tom Sneva still working on that big struggle that he has going on with everybody running up front. You know, it gets tougher when you get up to this point. When you're working through, say, 15th through 10th position, more often than not, you're running against competitors that are running just a little bit slower than you are. But when you get up towards the front, everybody is running quick. That's why they're running up towards the front. And it gets a little more difficult to continue to lop off position after position. You know, the pace here that Mario Andretti is setting is about 25.3. That would have been 13th or 14th on the starting grid. That's an average lap speed of about 142 miles per hour. It's about 1 second slower than what Mario actually qualified at. So that gives you an idea of the race pace. 142 miles an hour, 5 miles per hour slower, and about 1 second slower. But of course, they started this race on full loads of fuel, which you figure they didn't qualify on.
Bobby Rahal also moving up here. There's the leader, though, Mario Andretti. And Mario has not won at this racetrack since 1967. He won the 200-miler, which was held in August back in 1967. Has not had any luck at this racetrack since that time.
Now there is Chet Phillip, who's also still running in the top 10. Chet is right now being shown in 11th position. And right with Phillip, can't see from this distance if that's Jose Lee Garza or the number 59 of Pete Halsmer, but I bet you that's Jose Lee because he qualified pretty close to where Chester did. Yeah, that's Jose Lee, who's had a fairly decent week here. You know, he's been in the top half of the field. He says he's come to IndyCar racing for keeps, and he's turning in a pretty good performance here this weekend at Milwaukee.
Trying to pass Dennis Firestone, who was one of those put into the field by promoter's option in that number 36 car, the Pace Electronics March. As they go down the backstretch, Chet Chet Phillip now dives to the inside of Dennis Firestone and passes, and now Jose Garza will do so coming out of turn number 4.
You know, Bob, Phillip is driving a Lola, and those of us who've been following racing probably recall that it was expected at Indianapolis that the Lolas would mount quite a challenge. Well, really, the only Lola that showed at Indianapolis was Mario Andretti, but it was really a different story this week here at Milwaukee. Mario set a brand new track record set on the pole. Al Unser Jr. was the 4th fastest qualifier in a Lola. Ed Pim in the Lola was 6th. Chet Phillip was the 9th fastest qualifier. So there were 4 in the top 10, headed up, of course, by Mario Andretti. But the Lolas seemed to respond well here to the mile at Milwaukee, and that took a lot of people by surprise. They really weren't expected to do quite that well here at Milwaukee, but you know what? They did.
25 laps have been completed. Let's now run down the top 10 for you. The leader is Mario Andretti. Danny Sullivan running in 2nd spot. Rick Mears is 3rd, and Ed Pim 4th. In 5th position is Roberto Guerrero. 6th is Tom Sneva. 7th is Pancho Carter. 8th is Bobby Rahal. 9th is Johnny Rutherford. And in 10th spot is number 76, Jacques Villeneuve. 11th then is Michael Andretti. 12th is Chet Phillip. 13th is Jose Garza. And 14th is Emerson Fittipaldi. And there is Emerson going to the inside of Dennis Firestone.
Well, Emerson is piloting the STP 711 special this week. The frontline STP car driven by Don Whittington simply didn't qualify for the activity this weekend. So STP made a very gracious move and got itself involved in Emerson Fittipaldi's car for the race today.
And the leader is also moving up on Emerson Fittipaldi to put a lap on him. We'll be back with more of the American 200 from Milwaukee, Wisconsin in just a moment. Milwaukee, where Mario Andretti is setting a tremendous pace. He has just lapped the 14th place Emerson Fittipaldi, so there are 13 cars now in the lead lap with 31 laps completed. The top 5, Mario Andretti, Danny Sullivan, Rick Mears, Ed Pim, and Roberto Guerrero. One of the concerns in IndyCar racing in the past year has been the safety aspect, especially at the front end of the race car, the so-called footbox area. Changes have been made over the winter months. Here's Jack Arute.
When Rick Mears crashed his car at Senair last year, his feet were severely broken, and Rick suffered through agonizing months of recovery. Gordon Johncock also suffered foot and ankle injuries on 2 separate occasions last year, after crashes at Indianapolis and at Phoenix. The problem was the frontal area, or the footbox. Derek Daly suffered severe lower leg and foot injuries when the front of his car was destroyed. The torn and mangled front of Daly's tub hardly resembles its original configuration. Here's what the problem was in 1984. The front of the tub ended right here. All that protected a driver's feet from serious injury was a forward bulkhead of honeycombed aluminum and carbon fiber. In 1985, rules makers have addressed this problem and the alarming number of injuries that occurred to a driver's feet by adding an additional 10 to 12 inches on the forward part of the tub. They've also added an additional bulkhead, which will protect some vital parts that have to be in the front of a race car. Specifically, they're the brake fluid reservoirs. Now they are protected by an additional bulkhead, and it hopefully will protect a driver's feet from serious injury as well. The first test of the new rules came at Indianapolis when Danny Ungaius crashed his car very hard into turn number 2. While it was a frontal impact, Danny Ungaius walked away without serious injuries. All that occurred to Danny was some contusions to his lower knees. This very weekend, Pancho Carter had an opportunity to test the new nose cone when he crashed his car. Pancho, how did the nose cone hold up?
It held up rather well. Spun in front of Jim Crawford, and he ran over the front of the car, and it caved the front of the nose box in, but I wasn't injured at all, and then we got in the outside fence, but the car's repairable, and we'll be able to have it at Portland.
If it had been 1 year ago, and you had crashed with the designs the way they were last year, what do you think would have happened?
Well, I think that the car would have been more extensively damaged. I don't feel that the accident was severe enough to cause injury last year or this year. I think the main thing was probably Jim Crawford's car, and the fact that he ran over the front of me and got into the fence, and his car was extensively damaged, but he was able to walk away. That's probably more where the new design has helped him out, per se, as opposed to my accident.
Safety, always an issue, and what a difference a year can make.
And of course, there have been other safety rules changed over the winter months, especially in the area of the cockpit to prevent side injury to the driver. So safety aspects certainly in the foremost of everyone's mind in IndyCar racing. There is the leader, Mario Andretti. There are now 11 cars on the lead lap. Running in second position continues to be Danny Sullivan, and then Rick Mears.
Bob, another guy, and I think he's on the screen right now. Yeah, he is. Pancho Carter, another guy who's done very well here today. You know, this is the backup cars we just saw in that piece. Pancho crashed the front line Valvoline Special Gallus car for this week, but they hastily put this one back together. It's a black color. We're normally used to seeing blue and white Valvoline colors, but there's Valvoline all over it, and there's red, white, and blue stripes, so that certainly counts. I hope you're listening, Valvoline. But Pancho has done an excellent job. He started way back in 19th position, and now he runs unofficially in 4th position and closing in on that guy, Bob.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, either something is wrong with Danny Sullivan or Rick Mears is really standing on the gas, because Mears has now moved into second place and put a lot of racetrack between himself and Danny Sullivan. It could be that Sullivan is encountering some kind of a problem, because as you indicated, Pancho Carter is closing in on him.
Pancho has really done an excellent job. I don't think anybody expected him to take the backup car, particularly starting way back there in almost 20th position and move to the front. You know, he never really had an opportunity to show that much speed in 1984. He looked good at the Michigan International Speedway before crashing violently, but he just didn't have that opportunity. Well, this year he's been given that opportunity by Rick Gallus, and he is really making the most of it. You can tell he's feeling racy. He likes this type of racetrack. He's a good old short track racer, and he's looking good today.
Third place, Danny Sullivan has lost second to Rick Mears, who is pursuing Mario Andretti, the leader of the race. There is Danny Sullivan, last weekend's winner of the Indy 500, walking off with a little bit more than $500,000 for his day's work at Indianapolis.
Danny Sullivan, the man who holds a record in kart for the highest finishing position ever in his very first race. He finished third in Atlanta about 4 years ago.
Alonso Jr. has been in and out of the pits the last couple of laps. He's back in and with Jack Arute.
Al, you came in with a cloud of dust and not a Hardy Hi-O silver, and you sat here for a number of laps, went out and took one lap, and now you parked the car. What put you out of the race?
Well, we don't know what happened to the engine. It just, it just started missing and blubbering, and then I went about 4 laps with it like that, and went all the way back to the back of the pack. So brought it in, see what was going on. There was a little bit of a fire, and it burned. We thought burned an electrical lead to one of the spark plugs, and then we changed that and went back out, and it's something else besides that. So we don't know if it's what it is exactly.
Well, you're going to have to now wait till Portland, but Portland's been good to you before.
Yeah, Portland's been good. I just I hate to see the Domino's Pizza Team Shearson fall down like this, but we're going to get our act together, and everything's going to do good.
Well, our best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you.
And the situation on the racetrack is that Pancho Carter has passed Danny Sullivan, and now Pancho Carter has moved into third spot. And Larry, I don't think that Sullivan's car is running well at this point at all.
No, it really isn't. Pancho's driving a good race. We don't want to take anything from him. By the way, he's about 12 seconds behind the leader, Andretti, but Sullivan has been in the racing parlance backing up the last few laps. He really needs a pit stop. By the way, they'll probably go about 75 or 80 before you have to stop here unless there's an earlier yellow flag.
And we've completed 46 laps right now. Only one yellow so far. That was for a spin over in turn 2 involving Ari Luyendyk, who's back in the race. Back in Milwaukee in a moment. This is the STP Inside Track Report, brought to you by the STP Corporation. A new feature here on Auto Racing 85, a recap of what's going on in the world of auto racing, brought to you by STP. The big story, of course, the cancellation of the Belgian Grand Prix because of poor track conditions. There was also a cancellation here at Milwaukee this weekend. They were supposed to have run the first in the Kart B Series. However, it was canceled because of lack of entries. Jim Crawford had a rather serious accident here in Milwaukee on Friday during practice. His car was totally destroyed. He, however, was not injured. from the front row to not making the show. That's a situation regarding Scott Brayton. He was on the front row for the Indianapolis 500-mile race, but failed to qualify for this event here, and he declined the promoter's option. They're still talking about the big payoff for the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Danny Sullivan, the winner, picked up more than $500,000, and Larry, the 32nd finisher, received the least amount of money.
And the man who sat on the pole but who finished last, he probably does not want us to remind everybody, but it was Pancho Carter. You know what? He won over $100,000 for finishing last place. But to be fair, it's because he finished first place when it came to qualifying.
And Pancho Carter is really on the move here. He has closed in on second place Rick Mears. And as a matter of fact, there is the pass for second, or the battle for it, should we say. Pancho Carter has second spot right now, moving to the inside of Chet Phillip in turn number 3. So Mears has fallen back to second, or rather to third spot. And Pancho Carter is now in second place, and the interval between himself and the leader Mario Andretti is just about 11 seconds.
And Bob, more importantly, that interval has shortened in the last few laps because Rick Mears was running unofficially faster than the leader Mario Andretti. Now Pancho Carter has passed him, so I guess that would mean, if my mathematics are right, that Pancho Carter must be running faster than Mario. But what is Mario doing? Has he found that race pace that he wants? Is he letting everybody catch up with him? What's going on? But now I see Rick Mears for that lap, but he's pulled way down to the inside of the front stretch. Oh, okay. It's Johnny Rutherford, Bob.
Johnny Rutherford is in the wall out in turn number
leader pitting
3, I believe.
Anyway.
There is the Rutherford car up against the wall, so the pit stops will be made now with 54 laps completed. Mario has come in. Bobby Rahal is also in.
Ari Luyendijk is in. Ari, of course, had the problem with the front wing a little earlier. Rahal is away. Andretti making somewhat of a leisurely stop under the yellow flag conditions. You can get a lot of work done and not really have to rush yourself. And obviously, it's a tremendous opportunity in any race.
Changing tires on all 4 tires on Andretti's car. Let's go down to Jack Arute.
This could be a break for Danny Sullivan. The report just prior to the display of the caution was that his car was getting very, very loose. That was the reason the team said that he was slowing down. As Rick Mears pulls by Danny Sullivan, Sullivan completes the exchange of rubber and goes back out on the racetrack. Hopefully they'll cure the problem and he'll be able to get back into the hunt.
The yellow is on here at Milwaukee because of an accident involving Johnny Rutherford. So we'll take this break and be back with more from the American 200. Rutherford's damaged machine has been taken off of the racetrack. The accident occurred out in corner number 2, and there you can see the Rutherford car. It isn't damaged very much at all, and Johnny Rutherford is out of the car and in good shape. A lot of pit stops have been made, including Mario Andretti and Bobby Rahal. Let's try to establish radio communication with Bobby.
Bobby Rahal, this is Larry Newby. You got a reading on us?
You're pretty garbled.
Let's go for it, Bobby. At the start, you seemed to get a little bit behind when the green flag dropped. What happened way back then?
Oh, just took a little while for the tires to warm up. We had a good start. I think Rutherford got in trouble and we passed about 5 guys. But the car isn't handling quite as good as I'd like, so we're having to work pretty hard today.
Bobby, it looked like the yellow flag came out on the racetrack about the right spot. You were one of the first ones to get into the pits. Was that an advantage?
Well, I really don't know other than I've got a clear track. But I think maybe we should have waited another lap. But luckily everybody's back going to be fighting among themselves and maybe we can catch up.
Well, it sounds like you may have a tiger by the tail, but you got a shot at maybe picking up some ground, so good luck to you.
All right, Bobby Rahal is shown in 6th spot now, and he is the last car on the lead lap. You can see Mario Andretti 2 cars behind Bobby, so when the green comes out, Bobby will try to, there he is, the 4th car in line, Mario Andretti, the leader. So when the green comes out, he'll be trying to put a lap on Bobby Rahal, who is shown in 6th position right now. The top 5, Mario Andretti after the series of pit stops. 2nd place is Rick Mears. 3rd is Tom Sneva now. 4th is Danny Sullivan. And 5th is Ed Pim. Now, Pancho Carter lost a lap during the series of pit stops that just occurred. The car stalled in the pit area. And Pancho Carter, who had come such a long way and had done so great here in the early stages of this race, now a lap down. Pace car pulling off of the course, and the green comes back out. We're back to racing in the American 200.
Well, Bob, we don't think that what happened with Pancho hurt the car, so it may still be just as fast as it ever was. So he may have an opportunity to get back into this race. When something like this happens on the first set of pit stops, you still got an outside chance. Remember that Mike Mosley came from dead last to win this race a few years ago. Now, Pancho is at a greater deficit than Mike was because we've already had one pit stop and we're almost to lap number 60, but there's still a chance.
It's going to be interesting to see here how Rick Mears performs, because he had been closing in on the leader before passed by Pancho Carter. Let's go down to Jack Arute once again.
Johnny Rutherford, you're out of the race. You smacked the wall pretty good. You okay?
Yeah, it really wasn't that hard. The car lost a lot of speed before I got to the wall. For me, it was very slippery out there, and I've been fighting it all day long. It was loose, and we just, I was trying to catch Emerson Fittipaldi there, and it got loose on me in one, and that was it.
Andretti is setting a torrid pace. Is it like you thought it would be here today?
Well, yes. So with the new track record and the speeds they're running, I knew it would be very fast, but I wish I was still out there.
And we do too. Tough break for Johnny Rutherford, but you can count on it. He'll be back again.
Yeah, he was certainly one of those who was looked upon as a possible winner here today. He's done so well here at Milwaukee in the past. He last won back in 1980, but had two consecutive victories, I should say, in 1977, both races here, and also won a 150-miler in 1974. Now, Mario Andretti has put Bobby Rahal a lap down, so now 5 cars remain on the lead lap.
Well, Bob, you never know exactly what is going on as we look at Tom Sneva, who runs 4th right now, inside of the mind of the crafty mind, the ingenious mind of Mario Andretti. When he is the best car in a race, he does lots of things and sometimes fool you. But right now, there's no question that the fastest car on the racetrack is Pancho Carter. Pancho Carter moved through the field, and now he runs in 2nd position in terms of on the track space. There you see him coming in the far right-hand side of your screen. But Pancho has closed in a little bit on Mario. Now we'll see as we look at the second place, is that? Yes, Tom Sneva is not only 4th in line on the track, but 2nd place in this race. Now he's going to say, let's see how Andretti handles this, that he sees Pancho Carter coming after him.
Well, I don't think that Pancho Carter is going any faster on the track than this man, Tom Sneva. Started 19th, is now already up to 2nd. A good old-fashioned from the back to the front run by Tom Sneva here. And quite honestly, Tom was not happy with the way this car had been running all weekend. Of course, he chose, I guess, to go with the Eagle while his teammate Ed Pym was given the Lola. And I think Tom kind of had second thoughts about that after qualifying, but he has that car working well right now, lapping Bobby Rahal in turn number 3. Tom Sneva running 2nd, and Rick Mears, the yellow car there on your screen, is now 3rd.
I got to tell you, Dan Gurney has got to be beaming, because this is the lone Eagle. You know, there was a time, of course, when the Eagle dominated the starting lineups of all IndyCar races, but the chassis has just not been running top 3, top 4 form for a couple of years. And they wanted Sneva, of course, to do some development work on this car, maybe make it faster. They knew that Tom had the ability to go as fast as anybody, and if anybody could make the Eagle look good, it would certainly be Sneva. Things didn't look so hot when this race started, but Sneva is really giving it a good ride.
Mario Andretti has led every lap so far in this race here this afternoon at Milwaukee. Mario jumped into the lead at the drop of the green flag and has never relinquished it. And there is the interval between 1st and 2nd. It's, to be exact, 5.1 seconds.
Well, if there's ever any doubt about Formula, or rather make that IndyCar racing going international, you know, the sponsor of Mario Andretti's car is the Beatrice Foods. You know who their guests are this week? The China International Trust and Investment Corporation from the People's Republic of China. Yeah, Beatrice is the main provider of, let's call it convenience food on the mainland of China.
69 laps have been completed here. Make that 70 laps out of 200. That will make up the American 200. And now ESPN and CART present a track back.
The Indy
Milwaukee car, I believe, gets just a little more safe each year. Now, here's the latest. See this black piece right here? This is actually part of the fuselage, the body of the race car. The carbon fiber is drawn up from the sides of the car and almost encapsulates the driver. They leave an opening just big enough for the driver to get down into, and what it does, it gives more strength and support and protects the driver just that little bit more. You know, each year we're getting closer and closer to almost an enclosed capsule for the driver to sit in.
This track fact has been brought to you by Loctite. Come on, race fans, Duro it right with Duro Extend Rust Treatment. It destroys rust. At Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the American 200 underway. There are the top 5. We'll be back in just a moment. "76 laps completed. The American 200 under the control of Mario Andretti. 8.2 seconds back is Tom Sneva. Third place, Rick Mears. Fourth is Denny Sullivan, and fifth is Ed Pym. Dan Gurney has both of his cars running in the top 5. Here is Mario Andretti moving to the inside to pass Kevin Kogan in car number 18. Who struggled somewhat this weekend to make the field. As a matter of fact, he was the slowest qualifier, the 22nd qualifier at 138 miles an hour.
And just so we don't forget, Pancho Carter is still running up there with the top 5 cars, but he lost a lap when the engine stalled during a caution flag pit stop about 20 laps ago. Pancho is running, I think, in second position as far as the grid on the track goes right now. We commented earlier that looked like he was catching Mario Andretti. Well, once Mario saw him coming, he turned up the wick and took off away from Ponch.
The battle for 8th and 9th position here involving Bobby Rahal and Jeff Brabham. Battle for 8th and 9th spot.
Well, Brabham is in the black car. That's the teammate car to Pancho Carter, the other car of the Gala stable. That's the Coors Light Silver Bullet. There you see Jeff trailing right now Spike Gelhausen, whom they actually are lapping right now. Spike has taken over the ride in the Spa Aerobics race car that Michael Rowe tried to get into this year's Indianapolis 500-mile race.
There is Jeff moving to the inside of Spike Gelhausen. And putting a lap on him right at the start-finish line, now heading down into turn number 1 once again. So Jeff Brabham shown in 9th position and Bobby Rahal is 8th. However, both of those drivers are a lap down to the field.
Well, Jack is one of, or rather Jack, that's his dad. Jeff is one of the many guys who has already, after just 2 races, won over $100,000, if you can believe that. He's ranked 12th in terms of money won for 1985. He's won $102,000 already. He's the kind of guy that I think is a pretty good team driver. He's very consistent on the racetrack. It's very easy to tell how the car is performing, more often than not, what's wrong with it and what's right, because Jeff himself is so steady. He is so dependable. And here's a guy that when the right combination comes together, I think he has the capability of winning some races, and in the near future, too.
Mario Andretti continuing to set the pace out there. He is lapping cars to the inside and to the outside. That car handling very well for Mario Andretti, the defending CART PPG IndyCar World Series champion.
You know, Bob, what a difference a week makes. You know, you watch Mario today and you think back about 1984, how much he controlled the tempo, the pace of every race almost that he was in. And here we are in 1985, the 3rd race of the season. He won the first one. He's dominating this one. It's hard to believe that he was not the superior one at Indianapolis a week ago. But Danny Sullivan, Roger Penske and crew turned in a great performance, and a tremendous job, I think, turned in by Sullivan's chief mechanic, Chuck Sprague, in winning that race. There's no question. They didn't back into that. They were the fastest car, and Andretti was chasing them all day.
And the 2nd and 3rd place cars here. There is Rick Mears in the yellow car moving to the inside of Jose Legarza. Right in front of him, however, is Tom Sneva. So we have 2nd and 3rd here. There's Sneva in 2nd position, car number 2. And behind him in the yellow car, Rick Mears running in 3rd spot.
And both of the Machinist Union cars are in there. That's Pete Halsmer, who's sandwiched between Sneva and that green and white car just out of your screen, and right there in front of Rick Mears. Pete Halsmer, who originally hailed from, of course, Lafayette, Indiana. The Scott Ladd Foods Machinist Union. It's a brand new 1985 March.
Rick Mears ran 2nd for a while, but now has dropped back to third position. Rick still having a difficult time bearing weight on his feet that were injured so badly up in Canada last year at San Air Super Speedway. He walks, but doesn't walk any more than he has to because of the pain that he still has with his feet. But Rick Mears is not affected at all by those injuries when he's behind the wheel of a race car.
You know, I don't understand it. He didn't forget about driving a race car. He seems to remember everything, you know. Rick has done really a tremendous job. He has gone through a lot in the last, say, 8 or 9 months. Everything was directed toward getting back behind the steering wheel and inside the seat of an Indianapolis car, and he's really done a very good job. There's a whole lot more to this story than what meets the eye. Rick has overcome some very severe medical problems, and you know, a lot of the people up and down Press Road today, they kind of felt that Mears was the guy to beat. He has been fast, very easy, and very smooth all week here at Milwaukee.
There once again is your leader with 88 laps completed. We've completed almost half of this race. Another 12 laps will be the halfway point. We've only had 2 yellow lights so far today. One for a spin involving Ari Luyendyk and the other for the Johnny Rutherford accident out in turn number 2. Bobby Rahal and Mario Andretti battling here now. Rahal is a lap down and being shown in 8th position.
Well, if you remember last year, the Budweiser sponsorship used to be on the side of Mario Andretti's car. So there's Mario in the Beatrice sponsorship passing the car that looks pretty similar to what his looked like, including the same number of 1984. That's Bobby Rahal in the True Sports Budweiser car.
Mario Andretti, of course, in the Lola, and Bobby Rahal in the March. We had an opportunity to ask Mario Andretti about the 2 chassis.
I wish it was. I don't think we are that much better, really, than the Marches, if any. In fact, I think it's pretty much of a neck-and-neck race. We've seen that on the road course. We've seen that on the super speedway, and we're about to see it here on a mile.
Mario Andretti leading the race, and you know, Larry, there's something just wasn't right with Mario this weekend. It appeared to me he just wasn't quite himself, and I think it amounted mostly to disappointment over his showing last week at Indianapolis. Second place isn't bad, but Mario wanted that win so much. We'll be right back with more of the American 200. Newber back at State Fair Park in Milwaukee for the American 200. It's Mario Andretti, Tom Sneva, and Rick Mears running 1, 2, 3 at this point.
Now, Mario has lapped all but the 4 other cars that are on the lead lap. The next one to go would be Ed Pym. Now, here is Chet Phillips. See that little piece sticking up on the back? That's called a gurney. That's one of those strips that runs along the back top, or the top rather, of the back wing. It gives you just a little more directed downforce. They also call it a wicker bill. You can see it has come loose, and it's almost off the race car. It's certainly flapping in the breeze, but it's been in that condition now for about the last 15 or 20 laps, and kart observers have been watching him, but so far, no problem.
Chet Phillips started 9th and is now being shown in 14th position. Let's go to the pits. Jack Arute.
Well, Bob, we slowed a car down. Actually, it's the T car for Michael Andretti to expound upon the wicker bill / gurney. This is the strip right here that goes across the rear wing. Now, there's 5 bolts that hold it together, then 2 side bolts. So it's obvious in Chet Phillips' case that some of these bolts have come loose, and that's what's flapping in the breeze.
We'll continue to watch that Chet Phillips car to see how it affects the handling of it. Meanwhile, there is
That's Tom Sneva.
Tom Sneva continuing to...
It's a little confusing, I'll tell you. They were in opposite colors at Indianapolis, and the Eagle's been changed, the Lola's been changed, but that's definitely Tom working on Roberto Guerrero. And I think Roberto has slipped down at least 1 lap. No, we're showing him as 2 laps down to the leaders, but still running in 9th position. Sneva is still very much in it for victory here. Mario continues to dominate this race. He has not caught or put a lap on Danny Sullivan yet. And Ed Pym is still, he's about 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Mario. So if this green flag continues to be lengthy, Ed Pym may fall a lap down to the leader also. But Pym is doing one whale of a job.
We are 1 lap beyond the halfway point. We've completed lap 101 here this afternoon. And quite honestly, the interval between first first and second is not growing at all. Tom Sneva is able to maintain about an 8-second deficit to the leader, Mario Andretti. There is Danny Sullivan, who is in 4th position right now, about 20 seconds behind the leader. Danny Sullivan, the winner of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. What does winning the 500 and becoming the champion mean? Well, Larry Nuber talked with him.
Annually, ESPN is privileged to have the first national broadcast of an IndyCar race the week after the Indianapolis 500, and it always gives us an opportunity to reminisce with the winner of this year's race. Danny Sullivan was winning the Indianapolis 500, all that it's kind of cracked up to be.
Actually, I think it was a lot more than I had anticipated. You know, this is really the jewel in motor racing to win the Indianapolis 500, but I had no idea really what it entailed, what it meant, how people looked at it, how they treated you after winning. It's been absolutely fabulous.
Danny, you came from Formula One about 3 years ago, and winning Indianapolis seemed like a very distant dream. And then last year, it kind of all came together, winning at Cleveland on a road course and then at St. Aaron on an oval.
Well, that's true. It really was a breakthrough last year. I was with a good bunch of people. I think, of course, the biggest breakthrough last year for me was the Pocono 500, because it proved to everybody that I could drive on an oval, I could race with the best of them, and that I could win a 500-mile race. And, of course, this year with the Indy 500, that was just a creme de la creme, if you like.
At what point during the running of the race did you actually think, hey, I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to be the winner of the Indianapolis 500. What were the feelings inside your helmet at that time?
Really, the only time that happened was when I came out of turn 4 on the last lap. Because I thought at one stage with about 7 laps to go, I had it. Was at about a 10 or 11 second lead on Mario. And then that accident with Bill Whittington occurred. A yellow came out, and then Mario was right behind me, and we only had, and I knew, you know, he was right there 1 second behind me with 3 laps to go. He was going to pull out all stops. But once I got away, I thought if I could just run this pace and keep away, I've got it. But really only on the last lap.
Well, Danny Sullivan holds the record for the best finish ever in his very first kart race. He finished 3rd at Atlanta a few years ago. Some may say he was on the verge of superstardom, but there's no question now, Danny Sullivan, superstar Indianapolis car driver.
And Mario Andretti is the leader of this race here at Milwaukee, however. And we will have more from State Fair Park right after this. Andretti, the current leader, running second is Tom Sneva. ESPN presents this mid-race recap brought to you by Coney, makers of shock absorbers and suspension kits for all performance cars. Coney, proven superior. We're just past the halfway point here in the American 200, and our race summary right now shows that the race has taken so far 48 minutes to run, the average speed 124.492 miles an hour. Mario Andretti has led all the way. We have had 12 laps under caution, 2 caution periods, those for a spin involving Ari Luyendyk and the accident involving Johnny Rutherford. Rutherford is out of the race, the only other car out of the race, Al Unser Jr., because of mechanical problems. Now, as far as the standings are concerned, here are the top 10. Mario Andretti is the leader. Tom Sneva is second, 14 seconds behind. Third is Rick Mears, 20 seconds behind. And fourth is Danny Sullivan, 23 seconds behind. A lap down in fifth is Ed Pym. In sixth position, also a lap down, is Pancho Carter. Seventh position, 2 laps down, Jacques Villeneuve. In eighth is Jeff Brabham. Ninth, Roberto Guerrero. And 10th is Emerson Fittipaldi. Those cars 2 laps to the rear. So that's the situation at the American 200 here in Milwaukee. It's been a safe race so far, and one that has certainly been dominated almost totally by this man, Mario Andretti. Let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit area with this comment.
Well, we've done an unofficial and unscientific survey of the front runners as it applies to fuel consumption, gentlemen, and we found that all of them are averaging about 1.9 miles to the gallon. Now, CART will allow you enough fuel on board in your pits to average 1.8 miles to the gallon. So as we pass the halfway mark, it looks like fuel will not be an issue here today. But of course, if they turn the boost up and they really get racy, as Larry Newber says, we could see it come down to the wire.
We'll watch that situation as the race develops. There is Roberto Guerrero in car number 9, running in 9th position right now. And right behind him is Emerson Fittipaldi in car number 40, the STP 711 car.
And right in front of them is Jeff Brabham. That's 7th, 8th, and 9th. Remember, Roberto unofficially is running in 9th position right now. Make that 8th because he has gotten around. No, I stand corrected. 8th, 9th, and 10th. I'll get it right yet.
There you go.
Jeff Brabham was running at 8th, unofficially. Roberto Guerrero 9th, and Emerson Fittipaldi 10th. And they have been testing each other for about the last 5 or 6 green flag laps. They seem to be running fairly evenly matched, but they're really doing some racing out there. There you see Fittipaldi and Roberto Guerrero, 2 guys who are reasonably familiar with the Formula 1 circuit, who are working on each other for position here in the top 10.
Roberto also a very good job last Sunday in the Indianapolis 500-mile race, finished a strong 3rd, but right now he has his hands full with Emerson Fittipaldi. Emerson looking to the inside there as they went down the straightaway, headed into turn number 1. Now he looks inside once again as they come off the second corner and down the backstretch, and Emerson pulls alongside Roberto Guerrero, and does he get by? Yes, he does. So Emerson Fittipaldi moves into 9th position.
Well, Roberto said during practice this week that he had the most trouble, for whatever reason, coming out of turn number 2. He has done some testing here in the month of May, but he's not all that familiar with mile ovals, although the month of May and the testing really helped. But turn 2 proved to be his nemesis once again. But Fittipaldi, one of his few efforts to date in his racing career in a 1-mile oval. This is something I'll bet you that the former world champion, 2 times world champion, will really get used to. This guy's having a good season. He says he's very, very happy with the Pat Patrick team, and he may well be a man who is running up front in one of the races that when it finishes this year.
Fittipaldi finished 2nd at Long Beach in the very first IndyCar race of the year, and finished in the top 10, or in the top 15 at least, in the Indianapolis 500 after running up front for several laps.
Well, that's Danny Sullivan, who continues to stay on the lead lap with the leader Mario Andretti. Sullivan running in 4th position yet. We're showing him about 27 seconds behind, but Andretti is closing in on Sullivan as they move around this racetrack. Andretti also putting yet another lap on those 8th, 9th, and 10th place cars. Mario in their red number 1 going to work now in Emo. I guess if you were in Brazil, you could probably get away with calling him Fittipaldi, but we Americans call him Fittipaldi.
Mario Andretti, the leader. You know, Mario didn't compete here at this racetrack for several years while he was on the Formula 1 circuit. He would compete in Indianapolis and then take off again on the Formula 1 circuit. So he had about a 6-year hiatus, but now he is back, of course, as a regular on the IndyCar trail, and wound up as the champion last year. Pancho Carter has made a pit stop, is in the pits right now for fuel and some fresh rubber on the right side of the car. Also a drink of water for Pancho. Boy, you would really wonder what the situation would be like had he not lost that lap last time he came in when the engine stalled. Fuel is still being put into that car. Now it's full.
And I think they're having trouble with the right front too, Bob. That car is not ready to go yet. The man there working on the right front tire just did not have it secured. And as you mentioned, Pancho has been so very fast in this race. This was a non-scheduled pit stop. I think it came about 10 laps too early. I realized that he did come in relatively early when the yellow flag was the last time, but everybody should be able to go. Let's see, 123 laps. They should be able to go another 10 laps or 15 laps or so on this load of fuel. So I'm not exactly sure what was wrong with Pancho. I didn't see them doing anything unusual as Danny Sullivan goes by, anything unusual to Pancho's car, but that was a very long pit stop, and his chances for victory are definitely gone now.
There is Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky, who started in 2nd place in the race here today, qualifying at 146.443 miles an hour outside row number 1, but has fallen back to 4th position and now is a lap down. There's the leader, Mario Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. That Newland Haas Beatrice Lola.
Mario sat on the pole here is the first time since 1972. He won 5 poles here at the Milwaukee Mile, but all of them occurred before 72.
We'll be back with more of the American 200 in honor of Rex Mays. The first race after Indianapolis here in Milwaukee. We'll be back in just a moment. Live coverage of the American 200 is being brought to you by Coney, makers of shock absorbers and suspension kits for all performance cars. Coney, proven superior. And by Hilton, America's business address. What keeps America's business going is what keeps America's business coming to Hilton. And by Coleman, much more than a camping company, we fit your outdoors.
Well,
132 laps are completed, Larry, and a lot of pit stops have been made since we were joining you last. Mario Andretti came in for a pit stop, as did Danny Sullivan, Roberto Guerrero, Rick Mears, and others.
Ed Pym just came in. He's certainly running in the top 5, but as Bob mentioned, we're at lap 130, figuring you can go about 75, 80 miles to a load of fuel. Everything should sync up just about right. Everybody should be able to go, unless they're just drinking down the fuel in huge gulps, go the rest of the way. This should be the final pit stop. Jack Root has a report from down on pit road. Jack?
Well, Larry, Pancho Carter's pit stop was a normal pit stop until they changed the right front tire. This lug nut, the center lug that goes on the wheel right here, it got stripped. It got cross-threaded as they began to put it on. So they had to get rid of that lug, go over the pit wall, get another one, put it on the tire, and it was 38-second stop. A tough break for Pancho Carter because he's running quick here.
Yeah, it sure was, Jack. As a matter of fact, a second tough break for Pancho in the pit area. There's Tom Sneva, who's in for a routine pit stop. He was running in second position until he came in. They're still putting fuel in the car. And there the car goes down off the jacks, and Tom Sneva stands on the accelerator and blasts out of his pit back onto the racetrack.
And looking for Mario. I guess Mario has gone by, and I got a feeling that he may have about a half a lap lead on Tom the next time they come around. Mario has not gone past the front stretch since Tom pulled out, so he must be streaming down the back stretch, tearing around 3 and 4 at this time.
I believe he's just entering the back stretch, so it is about a half a lap or maybe a little bit more lead for Mario Andretti. As they come down, the indication will become a little bit more clear. There is Mario coming off of corner number 4, crossing the finish line and completing lap number 137. And it's about an 18-second lead now, or about a half a lap for Mario Andretti over Tom Sneva. Still running in third place is Rick Mears and Danny Sullivan. Then Ed Pym is in 5th. And in 6th spot is Pancho Carter.
Well, remember last year, we saw Rick Mears do what Mario Andretti is doing right now. He had this race in his hip pocket. He was already making next month's mortgage payment, I'll tell you, on a new car. And then the engine started to go sour. He nursed it and coaxed it along the last 25, last 20, last 10 laps. And on the last lap, the white flag lap, in the middle of the backstretch, about where Mario is right now, Rick Mears' engine gave up the ghost, and he coasted around number 4, and Tom Sneva won that. So that just goes to show you, don't ever count that guy out who's in 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th. This is auto racing. There's luck that's involved here. Almost anything can happen.
This is the first of many IndyCar races that we'll be televising for you live on ESPN this year. Our next telecast will be in Portland in a couple of weeks. We were there for the very first IndyCar race last year, and we return there with our ESPN cameras 2 weeks from today for an IndyCar race. And other locations that we'll be televising from this year will include the Budweiser Grand Prix in Cleveland. Oh, we have a crash up in corner number 2. And it looks like it's Ed Pym. Ed went into a spin and hit the guardrail with the left rear of the car. You can see he's climbing out, and apparently okay, but he had quite an encounter with the wall up in turn number 3.
Well, he was running in 5th position at the time, and good to see Ed getting out of that race car, because it looks like he made significant wall contact. Ed there standing along the side of the outside wall, very disappointed. He knew he had a good ride going, and don't know if something broke in the race car or it just got away from him. But boy, it sure crushes the hopes of a young driver who was having a very good afternoon.
The car is resting right between the third and fourth turns. Here's a replay of what happened, Larry.
Well, I didn't see anything go. The smoke coming looked like it just came off the tires. It looks like the car just got away from him, and he turns around into a half spin and gets it with the left rear panel of the car. Small fire, probably out of the turbo, erupting just for a second and snuffing itself out, but extensive damage to the rear quarters of the number 98 Gurney Lola.
He also scattered a lot of debris up there in turn number 3. And they'll have to be cleaning that up for quite a while, it looks. There's Ed. He's okay, looking over the damage to the car. Well, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of rules have been changed, and most of them have had to do with the safety aspect of racing.
With speeds running in excess of 200 miles per hour, Indianapolis cars are being pushed to the ragged edge. The equation, however, is speed and safety, and the competitors and rules makers alike are concerned. According to J. Kirk Russell, Director of Operations for CART, they'll be taking a look at the speed safety equation when they make their rules for 1986.
We've looked at our current rules and the performance of our cars, particularly from the safety aspect of the cars, and we've expanded some of the definitions governing the cars in their current configuration. What we're looking for in this package is to reduce the speeds at the high-speed ovals and also to improve the safety performance of these cars.
What are some of the areas that you'll be addressing in 1986?
Well, the downforce that's created by the underwing of the car will be reduced. Also, the structure and the overall length of the car will be enhanced to afford better driver protection.
One thing that the rules makers don't want to get rid of are these side pods. Now, while they account for most of the ground effects on these race cars, they also work very well as a safety device. Herm Johnson may indeed owe his life to the use of these side pods during his crash at Indianapolis. They acted as a deformable structure, absorbing most of the impact when he crashed there during the practice for the 500. While there's no desire to completely do away with ground effects themselves, they do want to reduce the adhesion created by them. The way they're going to do that in 1986 is to cut down on the exit area beneath the tunnels on the side pods. By cutting down the number of square inches on the exit, you'll effectively reduce the adhesion created by ground effects. The final issue will be driver safety in the front of the car again. They'll try to move the driver's feet further back towards the center line over these tires.
And the Ed Pim car is being taken off of the racetrack, and it's pretty evident that the side pods also may have helped prevent injury to Ed. Now, the specific rule changes that were talked about there by Kirk Russell of the Championship Auto Racing Teams have not been announced yet. They will be announced in a joint statement with the United States Auto Club and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a few weeks. But rule changes are coming for 1986 to try to slow the Indianapolis type cars down a little bit. The yellow is on for the third time because of the Ed Pim accident. We'll be back with more from State Fair Park. We are under yellow at State Fair Park in Milwaukee. The Horton Medical Unit is backing into its position. However, the pace car is still out there. We should be going green in just a very few laps. They've done a rather quick job of cleaning up the debris over there left by the Ed Pim accident, because there was a lot scattered when he hit the wall. 1985 finishes. Well, at Long Beach, Mario was first, and at Indianapolis he was second. Danny Sullivan was third at Long Beach, and the winner at Indy. Al Unser Sr. was fifth at Long Beach and fourth at Indianapolis, but he is not in competition here this afternoon. Emerson Fittipaldi finished second at Long Beach and 13th at Indianapolis, and Roberto Guerrero did not finish in Long Beach and was at Long Beach and was a strong third at Indianapolis. Now, as far as the current points are concerned in Championship Auto Racing Teams, Mario Andretti the leader with 40. Danny Sullivan has 34 points. Al Unser Sr. with 22. Emerson Fittipaldi with 16. And Guerrero with 14. Second, 5, Jim Crawford, 12 points. Then Johnny Rutherford with 11. Johnny Parsons has 10. Jeff Brabham 8. And Ari Leyendyke and Jacques Villeneuve are tied for 10th in points with 6 each.
Bob, you know the Buicks made such a big splash at Indianapolis. Some of you may be asking, where are they here? Well, the Gallus team decided to not use a Buick for Pancho Carter. Scott and Brayton did come here in the Hardee's Dreisbach & Sons Cadillac Brayton Racing March. He used a Buick, and he just did not get into the field.
And as we indicated in our STP Inside Track report, Scott refused the promoter's option, so he is not competing this afternoon. Jeff Brabham has pulled into the pits. Meanwhile, the action on the speedway continues with Mario Andretti leading. There is Danny Sullivan passing Spike Gelhausen. Danny Sullivan is running in 4th position, a lap down to this man, Mario Andretti. Now only 3 cars are on the lead lap, 3 on the lead lap, with Tom Sneeve about 4 seconds behind and Rick Mears about 6 seconds behind.
Well, Bob, we mentioned that everybody should be able to go to the distance on the last stop that we had, although some of the people who are chasing that man, chasing Mario Andretti, used the opportunity of this last yellow flag to make a couple of extra stops. Rick Mears came in. Jeff Brabham came in. As a matter of fact, Jeff has made 3 pit stops in the last 7 or 8 laps. Emerson Fittipaldi struggling with something underneath the mechanical compartments of that race car. He stopped 4 times. Pete Halsmer made an extra stop. Tom Bigelow made an extra stop. But the guy who didn't stop was Mario Andretti. Things must be humming along right on tune. And Pancho Carter, we understand, looked like he came out breathing fire when the green flag fell this time. He got back around Danny Sullivan. He's lost too many laps to be a factor, but he's still very fast.
Andretti, last year in this race, qualified 3rd fastest, but had a series of pit mistakes. Finished in 8th position last year here in Milwaukee.
Well, there is the number 3 car of Bobby Rahal and the number 55 car of Jose Legarza. And right now, they're in it for 9th and 10th position. Jose running right on the racetrack with Bobby Rahal. Jose going to the outside. The Mexican going around the guy from Columbus, Ohio. Rahal's got himself a hole, though, and he darts down low and holds off Jose.
And they were 3 wide there in the 4th corner as Michael Andretti was high on the racetrack, trying to stay out of everybody's way. Michael being shown in 7th position right now.
And that's Rick Mears working his way through them. Rick is still on the lead lap with the leader, running right now unofficially in the number 3 position, about 13 seconds behind the leader Mario Andretti.
Rick Mears in the car owned by Roger Penske, right behind Bobby Rahal's car. Looking to the inside in turn number 1, but unable to put a lap on Bobby Rahal.
Rick Mears, who, as we mentioned, has looked pretty good here this weekend at Milwaukee. He also looked pretty decent at Indianapolis. This, by the way, is the same car that Al Unser Sr. drove at Long Beach and performed so well out there. Just to give you an idea of how Rick Mears is kind of back into the swing of things, he had, for him, a relaxing but a very serious business week. Even went charter fishing on Lake Michigan Wednesday, where we understand his girlfriend, Chris, did pretty well. Rick took a back seat to her. Right now, sort of like the back seat that he's taken to Mario Andretti. But he's still got a shot at this one. The fishing trip is over. He lost, but this one still got some laps to go yet.
There's Rick moving to the inside of Ari Leyendyke. Kevin Kogan, by the way, has just made a pit stop while we continue to watch the action on the racetrack. Kevin Kogan in that Graco Stereo Wolf Systems March. Rick Mears continues to work through traffic. Meanwhile, Sullivan is also working through traffic, and right ahead of Danny Sullivan is the leader of the race, Mario Andretti.
I think he just lapped him again, Bob. Yes. It was close there. Danny may have gotten out of the pits earlier or got ahead of him on a caution flag, but Danny is 1 lap plus that distance down, but runs in 4th position.
That is exactly the situation. 157 laps have been completed. We've got 43 more to go in this 200-miler here at Milwaukee. Safe race so far. The only real serious incident with the wall involved Ed Pym, although Johnny Rutherford also had contact with the second turn wall a few laps ago, but his car was not seriously damaged. Roberto Guerrero also on the racetrack back in the backstretch as Kevin Kogan once again makes a pit stop, and it's been in and out of the pits for Kevin. There's our second place car of Tom Sneeve.
not only is he second place, but interestingly enough, Bob, he is as close to Mario as he has been the last 15 or 20 green flag laps. Now, does that mean that Mario is just playing a little bit of cat and mouse, or is Tom coming on?
That's a question that we will answer in the next 42 laps or so. Well, we had an opportunity to talk with Tom Sneva about his performance here.
3 of the last 4 times that you've come here, you've won. Why?
Well, I'm not sure why. I like these kind of tracks, the short tracks where there's a lot of traffic and you're in the corner more times than you're not. Is more challenging, more exciting, and probably more fun for me. And they seem to fit my driving style pretty good. So I like the little short tracks like Milwaukee. Great spectator tracks and really fun from a driver's standpoint because of the traffic and the side-by-side racing.
Well, we haven't exactly seen side-by-side racing today, at least for the lead, because Mario Andretti has been leading since the green flag drop. But Tom Sneva has come on from a 19th starting position to run in second place, and he is now 10.1 seconds behind. Here's Jack Arute in the pit area.
Well, Ed Pim had an incredible ride, but all he has to show for it right now is a bent and battered Lola from Dan Gurney's stable. The Skull Bandit didn't make it today.
Running good. Skull Bandit was going right along, feeling great, and I went into turn 3 over there, and the engine cut out when I went to get back on the throttle. We had that happen a couple times during practice, but thought we had it all solved. But you know, picked a good time to do it again.
But you're okay.
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I just want to say hi to my wife Nancy. She's probably all worried about me.
Bob, that's the story from back here in the pit.
All right, good to see Ed in good shape after that accident over in turn number 3. Andretti continues to set the pace with 162 laps completed. We'll be right back.
Following question. If Hollywood made a movie of your life, who would you want to play yourself, and who would your leading lady be? Rick Mears?
Well, I don't know how it'd be playing myself, but Walter Matthau has always been my hero. He cracks me up, and I like him. And leading lady, I think Amy Irving would be pretty well.
Well, golly, of course Betty and I could probably do the best job. I mean, if Darrell and Stevie can do it, Betty and I can do it.
I guess I'd have to say Danny Sullivan. I mean, he won Indy, so I mean, that's all there is.
Leading lady?
Must be either his girlfriend or his mistress or whatever he's doing there. He must be living right.
The leading male, it'll definitely have to be Danny Sullivan, and as far as the leading lady, I think just about anyone, but definitely Danny Sullivan would do a good job.
Well, I think, Paul Newman wouldn't be a bad choice for the man. He's a racer, and he probably knows a little more of the inside feelings about what a driver really goes through than a lot of other people. For the gal, I'd probably pick Lily Tomlin because it'd make my wife feel very pretty.
Well, as far as the leading lady's concerned, I saw a movie called Lady Hawk the other night, and there was this girl, I think her name was Michelle Pfeiffer, and I'll tell you, if she was the leading lady, I'd want to be the leading man.
For me, probably Robert Duvall, and for Debbie, Jane Seymour.
Danny, in this question of the week, you got a couple of votes. Now, how do you see it? If Hollywood was making a movie, who would you want to play your role and then be your leading lady?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I'd almost rather play it myself because I don't think anybody can play oneself better than oneself. But and I've got some friends who are actors, so I'd hate to single one out and say, I'm going to pick him. And leading ladies, why does it have to be only one?
Our question of the week there, and some very interesting answers by some of the drivers. Danny Sullivan continues to run in 4th position. The lead is held by Mario Andretti, and Danny keeps unlapping himself and then getting lapped, and he is now a lap down, but he did unlap himself just a couple of laps ago, but Mario has gotten by him once again. Now Mario is moving to the inside of Michael Andretti in car number 99. Michael is in 8th position, 5 laps behind Mario, now 6 laps.
Yeah, if Danny wasn't a lap down, this would really be an exciting race. It'd be like Indianapolis all over again, but times 2 because Sullivan is running right with Andretti, and as Bob mentioned, a couple of times he's kind of reared up and got around Mario, but Mario has got him back. So despite the fact that Mario has a pretty comfortable lead, he's still doing some heavy-duty racing.
Emerson Fittipaldi is battling with Michael Andretti for 8th position, and now Emerson goes into 8th spot. Emerson has been running in the top 10 just about all afternoon, never in a situation where he would challenge the leader, but has been running very consistent all day.
Well, this is kind of a learning process for Mario. He's like, or rather for Emo, he's like in the classroom this weekend because, as we mentioned, despite the fact he has driven many types of racetracks around the world for a long time, a mile oval is new to him. He said he found it kind of difficult to go into the corners, break deep, and take the inside. On a road course, it's a little different. You can swing the car back and forth. There's always a very well-defined apex that you try to hit. But this 1 mile oval with constant turning to the left was a new experience for Emo.
Michael Andretti started this race in 10th position, qualifying in 143.810. Michael, of course, from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Earlier today, by the way, his younger brother, Jeff Andretti, won the Super V race that you will be seeing on ESPN at a later date. His dad, right there, Mario, is the leader of this race, and he right now moves to the inside of Spike Gelhausen to put another lap on Spike. Back with more from Milwaukee State Fair Park in just a moment. ESPN's Auto Racing 85 today at State Fair Park in Milwaukee for the American 200, the 3rd IndyCar race of the year. The top 3, Mario Andretti. 9 seconds back is Tom Sneva, and then 16 seconds back of Andretti. In 3rd place is Rick Mears. Let's go down to Jack Arute.
It's been a rather uneventful day, one could say, down here on pit road. There's been some retirees, most notably Al Unser Jr., Johnny Rutherford, the crash with Ed Pym, and now a report that Jeff Brabham is out as well. But I think the thing that impresses me the most so far is the calm and assurance of the crew behind me. The Beatrice crew, they've gone about their work very well, and they have informed me that they intend to keep the car out there. They've got plenty of fuel on board, and they're going for the win. Gentlemen?
Well, they have 20 more laps to go. He has just completed lap number 180. Mario Andretti we are speaking of. So in 20 more laps, it'll be a checkered flag.
You know, Bob, you look at Mario and you think that he's won in midgets and sprint cars and championship dirt cars. He's been world's champion. He's won the Daytona 500. He's won a lot of stock car races, lots of IndyCar races. But you know what? He's not won on a 1 mile oval for 15 years. So I got a feeling that if he can pocket this one, it's probably going to be important to him. Maybe just a step above the importance of any other win. You never get tired of winning, and Mario will be the first one to tell you that. But this one might be just a little more special. By the way, Jack just reported to us that Jeff Brabham had dropped out, and I must admit, I was the one who got that report, and I tipped Jack off during the break, and now we noticed that they have fixed the side pod that was wrong with Jeff's car, and he's back out there racing, but he's lost a lot of laps, so it's just like he dropped.
You know, we've been watching the data speed information here, timing and scoring, and it's very interesting to see the interval between first and second. When Andretti gets caught in traffic, the interval has been down to as little as 5 seconds, but in the last 5 or 6 laps, Mario has not had a whole lot of trouble to contend with, and the interval is now up to just a little bit over 11 seconds. So Andretti is indeed stretching out the interval between himself and Tom Sneva. Well, there is Michael Andretti, who has come in for a pit stop, and it looks like this could be something more than a routine pit stop because they're not fueling the car, they're not changing tires on it, and Michael looks rather dejected.
Yeah, they're going inside, getting down to where the electrics often are kept, so maybe that's one of the problems. It's kind of interesting in 1985. The Andrettis are the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, I guess you could say. Car number 1 and car number 99, and they were pitted right next to each other this week here at Milwaukee.
Michael running in 10th position when he came in. Jack Arute will have a report in just a few minutes on what his problem is. Right now, we'll be back with more from Milwaukee in a moment. The story right now is the Andrettis. There is Mario leading the race, while in the pits, Michael has climbed out of his car and taken the helmet off. It's all over for Michael Andretti, and Jack is right there with him. Jack?
Michael, what put you out of the race?
I think it was a broken header.
Your dad's running very well. You had a chance to run with him. You think he can go the distance? He's really looking good out there.
Yeah, he really is. He just blew by me so many times, I thought I was sitting still.
Well, that's the story. One Andretti's out of the race, and the other one's leading.
All right. The dejected look on Michael Andretti's face, but his father is looking very good as far as a win here this afternoon. 12 more laps to go. Now, running right ahead of Mario Andretti on the racetrack, there is the number 71 car of Spike Gelhausen. And Larry mentioned earlier that Michael Rowe had this car and this ride earlier. But Spike is in it this weekend, and running right there with him is Dick Simon in car number 22.
Well, for Spike, he says this is the first time he has ever experienced a full ground effects car. So talk about going to school. He really had a lot to learn as we see Mario Andretti tiptoeing himself around the outside of Mr. Simon. Looks like he's going around the inside of Spike Gelhausen as they battle on the racetrack. But Spike's had a lot of work to do because it's been a while since he's been in, obviously, an Indianapolis car. And this was a nice opportunity for this young man to get behind the wheel of an Indy car again. Remember Spike Gelhausen. He has shown us in the past that he has the ability to go very fast in these Indianapolis cars. There was a year at Indianapolis a couple years ago when he showed up at the beginning of the month, Bob, and they had their act together. He was ready to go, and he came out and qualified in the first 3 rows and made it look easy.
As a matter of fact, he started in 4th position for that race, and I remember not too long ago was running a very strong second at Phoenix in an IndyCar race and crashed in the late laps, but looked real good all the way. Well, we have to take this break. We'll be right back. 9 more laps to go in the American 200. The American 200 IndyCar race, where Mario Andretti continues to lead with 5 more laps to go. The question is, does he have enough fuel to go the distance? And most everybody we've talked to in the pit area, and I think most everybody here in the booth agrees that, yeah, he probably does. He is 12 seconds ahead of Tom Sneva and 14 seconds ahead of Rick Mears. Those 3 cars on the lead lap. Running in 7th position is Jose Garza, and it's been a good run for the young Mexican.
Yeah, it really has, Bob. He said earlier this week this is the quickest they've ever run at Milwaukee. Of course, he's been here in a Super V before. Obviously, been here the last few years in an Indy car. But you got to mark this one down as a plus for the Machinist Union car, the number 55 Schaefer beer machine of Jose. He's had a good week and a good day. He's run very consistently and very steady, and he has really earned and deserves this 7th place finish.
There you can see he was the 1981 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year. 197 laps are completed. A couple of things going on in the pit area while we watch Mario Andretti on the racetrack. Tom Bigelow comes in with a flat tire, and Pancho Carter is also in for another pit stop. There is Pancho. The 5th place car of Pancho Carter is in for a stop, and it looks like they're trying to get the engine restarted on that car.
I tell you, you subtract the time that he has spent in the pits, Bob, and there's your winner.
Yeah, and it's just not going to go for him. And with only 2 more laps to go, it looks like that Pancho just better stay right where he is.
Well, as we watch Andretti, who's had really another one of those storybook weekends, some of the people who were here this week who just didn't make the show, we mentioned Scott Brayton, Jim Crawford earlier. Steve Chassie was here. And by the way, Steve Chassie in that Chevrolet stock block was timing well in the top 10. He may have been the 5th or 6th fastest when he crashed out. Don Whittington was here, didn't make it. Del Coyne, Raul Buezo, Bill Whittington was the other driver.
White flag lap coming up, 199 complete. Mario Andretti moves out of turn number 2 down the backstretch. It'll be a clean sweep for him if he can pull off the win here. He has led the most laps. He has qualified on the pole, and he has led every lap of this 200-lap race here at Milwaukee. He comes off of corner number 4. Mario Andretti wins the American 200 from State Fair Park in Milwaukee. Stop number 3 on the PPG IndyCar World Series for 1985. Here comes Tom Sneva off corner number 4, and he has finished in 2nd place. And in 3rd spot is going to be Rick Mears. Pancho Carter, by the way, there's Rick Mears. Pancho Carter did leave the pit area and limped across the finish line, but did pick up credit for 1 more lap and will unofficially be scored in 5th position. But there is Rick Mears finishing 3rd in this race.
You know, Pancho came across that finish line swerving back and forth. I can't believe it, but I guess he was low on fuel.
Must have been. Anyway, he did cross the finish line and pick up 1 more lap. Well, Mario Andretti heads for victory lane, and when he gets the helmet off, Jack Arute will be there to talk with him. We'll be back for that after these messages. This disappointment a week ago today at the Indianapolis 500. The smile is back on the face of Mario Andretti after a win here. Let's go down to victory lane in Jackaroo.
Well, it was 1968 when Mario Andretti won at Trenton, New Jersey, 66 and 67 back here in Milwaukee. It's been a long time since you've won on what they call a short track oval, Mario. Does it make it special today?
Oh, very special. It just, it's so important for us to put this one together because after the disappointment we had at Indy, obviously, I think this makes up for a lot of it, and I'm just so happy for the Beatrice people. This is near their home in Chicago, and they have some special guests here this weekend, and I'm just so elated. The car just worked fantastic. I tell you, I never had a car work so perfect throughout the race on a mile track, and the crew just got me out in just fantastic form. They gave me every advantage possible. It was a hard race. I just didn't let up right until the end. But I love it. I'm so happy.
There was a determined assuredness with your crew, Mario. They went about their business all week. Like they knew what they had to do. They put you on the line this morning. They gave you the right stuff.
Well, that's the name of the game. I think it takes teamwork to get it done, and I have a best team in the world behind me, and that's why I think I can consider myself very lucky.
Our heartiest congratulations to you and the entire team, and let's go back up to the booth of Bob and Larry.
All right, thank you, Jackie. Well, this Winner's Circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. We'll be back with some post-race thoughts of this American 200, which was won by Mario Andretti, in just a moment.
The Honda Motor Company.
Back at Milwaukee, and we're standing by to talk with the second place finisher, Tom Sneva.
Tom Sneva, second place. The Eagle had a good ride today, though.
It really did. We were happy with it. You know, we didn't qualify that well. We struggled with the chassis all weekend, but, you know, we made it better for the race, and, you know, the second pit stop hurt us a little bit. We tried to stretch the fuel a little bit too long, and the motor died in the pits, and that took a few more seconds to get it started and let Mario get away from us a little bit. But Mario ran real strong, but we were real happy with the Skull Bandit Eagle.
What do you think we can look forward to from the Skull Bandit Eagle in the next 3 or 4 races? It's back to a road course at Portland now.
Yeah, it is. You know, we're excited about it. It ran good here. It ran good at the Speedway. You know, we were running very quick in Indy when we had our problems. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Not a bad finish for Tom Sneva. Second today at the Milwaukee Mile. Larry, Bob?
All right, our congratulations to Tom. Here's the race summary. 200 laps, of course, completed. The time of the race, 1 hour, 36 minutes, 38.89 seconds. The average speed, 124.162 miles an hour. 2 leaders, 2 lead changes, 3 caution periods. Those lead changes, by the way, came during pit stop. So basically, you could say that Mario led the entire distance. There were 3 caution periods and 17 laps run under caution. And those incidents involved Ari Lyondike. They also involved the number 21 of Johnny Rutherford and Ed Pimm's accident. The top 10 finishers here: Mario Andretti, Tom Sneva, Rick Mears, Danny Sullivan, and Pancho Carter. And the second 5 finishing in 6th position.
I think Roberto Guerrero.
The number 9 of Roberto Guerrero, then Jose Le Garza, Emerson Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal, and Chet Phillips.
Well, Bob, it amazes me. I'll tell you, there are a lot of things that can go wrong in this type of racing, but these guys, they just sit down every week, make a plan, and follow it.
The American 200 has been brought to you by the STP Corporation. On the world's racetracks and on the world's roads, depend on STP, your car care company. And by Rust-Oleum Paint and new Rust-Oleum Auto Care products. Nobody fights rust like Rust-Oleum. A week from today, we'll be at Pocono for a NASCAR race. 2 weeks from today, we will be in Portland, Oregon for an IndyCar race on the road course. We also invite you to watch Speed Week this coming Thursday night at 7:30 as Larry and I will wrap up all the activity from this weekend in the world of auto sports. For Jack Arute and Larry Newber, this is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.